Welcome. Come on in. Hey, make yourself comfortable. You asked me about my book, A Chance Encounter. So I thought I'd share with you an excerpt from chapter 15, The Waltz of Secrets. Greg gave a small chuckle of happiness as he watched them leaving for the dance floor. Thomas looked at Greg, nodded to him, then turned to Greta with a smile. He lifted her hand ever so lightly, kissed it gently, then stepping out, Thomas began to lead her across the dance floor. Greta was smiling with great happiness in their success with the clients, and started to giggle as they exited the suite to the dance floor. Thomas turned back toward Greta to see why she was giggling when she raised her free left hand and pointed across the dance floor. Thomas turned toward where Greta was pointing to. There, over on the far side of the dance floor near the orchestra pit, he could see Veronica Lafayette barreling across the dance floor at a torrid pace, high heels clicking loudly and heading directly for their suite with her eyes narrowed in on her target. Thomas joined Greta in giggling because Greg was a target and Veronica was the missile. They continued out on the dance floor as Greg saw Veronica coming. Why would she be coming over here? Greg thought to himself. He raised his left hand and scratched the top of his head. Ladies and gentlemen, Hector began, it is now time for our second waltz. Please make your way out to the dance floor to enjoy our orchestra playing Blue Danube. Take your partner's hand and come sway with the romantic sound of live music. Greg suddenly realized what was going on and why Veronica was charging toward him at such a fast pace. He quickly placed a glass of wine that was in his left hand down onto the table and started out of the back of the suite. Veronica had a look of agitation or slight displeasure on her face. He conceded in his mind that she was quite justified to be miffed with him. I got so caught up in getting the proposal set up for the clients that I lost track of the dances, Greg thought, as he started onto the dance floor. I should have been ready for this waltz and waiting for Veronica, was racing through his mind as she reached him, slightly panting from nearly sprinting in heels across the dance floor. I need to make an apology immediately or I am burnt toast, Greg thought as he reached for Veronica's hands. My great apologies, Veronica, but should you allow me the opportunity to apologize most profusely, I promise to make it up to you, Greg said pleadingly, a slight quiver in his lip. Now, Mr. Garrelson, Veronica began with a biting tone to her voice, how should you expect me to accept that kind of apology for such an egregious mistake of monumental proportions? By not only letting me tell you how very sorry I am, Greg nearly stammered out as the music began and they started dancing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But by also letting me explain the circumstances and trusting you with a great secret that I am sure you can keep. Greg looked Veronica deep into her blue eyes to communicate how sincere he was. Well, Veronica said, dragging the word out for several steps, that is going to depend on your explanation and this secret that you think is so valuable. She giggled for a moment, then looked him straight in the eye with a deadpan face and stare that almost unnerved Greg. The explanation and secret are one and the same, Greg calmly began, or at least they are linked very strongly to each other. Anyway, the thing is that I'm trusting you with something that only 7 people here know about. Well, make that 8 if Carlo has informed Hector already. What are you talking about, Greg? Veronica demanded and squeezed his hand tightly. Okay, hold on a moment, because you will need a bit of background for this to make sense. Go ahead, Greg. Please do explain, as I really want to hear this now. Veronica smiled, then bit her lower lip, winked, and leaned in closer. I'm all ears now, she whispered into his ear. Well, Greg stammered as Veronica pressed her bosom tightly against his chest. You saw the people in our suite earlier, correct? Yes, I did, Greg, Veronica answered in a very soft, sultry voice. We are entertaining prospective clients that we are hoping to choose our company to manage their financial investments. You handle financial investments? Veronica said with complete surprise in her voice. Yes. I'm partnered with David in owning Pimlico, Greg answered. Then after you explain, I want to get investment advice from you, Veronica smiled happily. Certainly, Veronica. That would be my pleasure. Back to the explanation now. Where was I? Greg continued to waltz with Veronica. You were entertaining prospective clients for your company, Veronica replied. Right, entertaining prospective clients. So it turns out that the gentlemen decided that they would like to propose to the women here tonight. And I was busy making sure that that happened here tonight. Greg paused for a moment. Now, I am trusting you with this secret, so please promise that it will go no further than you. You have my word, Greg. Please tell me the secret, Veronica nearly pleaded with him. Carlo has agreed to have the men propose right before the tango competition. Paul is arranging things with the staff, though they don't know the who. They know that something is happening on this very dance floor tonight. Mon Dieu! Veronica exclaimed in a very giddy voice. C'est magnifique, Greg. You are a true romantic, aren't you? I don't know how much of a romantic I am, but I'm happy to help them pull this off. Greg looked around to ensure they were still clear of the couples dancing close by. Certain that Raphael and Michel were on the opposite side of the dance floor from them, he decided to continue. I can't wait for this proposal. It is going to be very memorable for everyone. Greg smiled, proud of his accomplishment. Maybe that is what Carlo wanted to speak with me about, Veronica mused aloud. Very well, Greg. You are forgiven for so rudely making me come to you. Greg had a puzzled look on his face. You were supposed to be waiting for me at the orchestra pit for this dance, she demanded sternly, showing a look of you should have known this on her face. Ah, yes, and I do apologize very profusely for my mistake. I was so caught up on getting the proposal arrangements made that I lost track of where we were in the dance car. Greg lowered his head a bit and put a sorrowful look on his face. You can make it up by doing the tango with me for the competition then, Veronica announced very firmly. Yes, that will do it. I did say that I rarely dance, and that the tango is for lovers, Greg began as he felt Veronica shush him again, as she had on their first dance. Did I miss something here? Greg asked as she removed her finger from his mouth. Tut, 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 Greg, I have decided that you are acceptable, and I am claiming you as mine. Your what? Greg asked, almost bewildered. My man, the one I am choosing to become my lover, Veronica said in a seductive voice as she dragged her finger from his right shoulder down across his chest and gave a teasing licking of her lips with a wink. Is that so? Greg asked as the music ended. Don't I have a say in the matter? Yes, you do, Veronica giggled. You have all the say that I tell you you have, she insisted. In other words, I have no choice but to accept your offer to tango, Greg concluded. To tango, or go out to dinner, or a movie. You belong to me now, Greg. It is settled, Veronica said with a smug look of satisfaction on her face. I guess it is, then, Greg replied and smiled. But I will not be at your beck and call. I am a businessman first. And you are also a man of culture who dances well, has been a perfect gentleman around me, keeping your hands where they belong. Veronica giggled. We can address where your hands might be allowed later. Shall we discuss investing my money? Veronica asked as they walked back to the suite. I would be more than happy to talk shop or to get to know more about you also. Greg smiled as he realized she was holding his hand. Where do you have your money invested now? Mostly in CDs or in a money market and some stocks. My lack of free time has prevented me from being able to better manage my wealth. I think it is time to let a professional invest my money for me and make me richer still. I don't just want to be wealthy. I want to be ridiculously wealthy. Well, now, Veronica, you are talking my language, Greg cheerfully said with a large smile. Ladies and gentlemen, there will be a 10-minute break to allow you to refresh your legs. Then we will return for the cha-cha, followed by the second tango, Hector announced boldly. We will see you back on the dance floor very soon. Thank you for joining me while I read this excerpt from my book, A Chance Encounter. For the rest of the story, you can get the ebook on Nook or Kindle, or in print on Amazon now and Barnes & Noble on December 10th. Thank you.